Good morning, I'm Craig Negrelli. It's Friday, April 4th, 2025, and these are your unbiased updates. Tariff fallout, stocks tumble after President Trump announces across-the-board 10% levies and reciprocal tariffs against more than 180 countries. What the president said about the market going forward. And a judge now says he may hold the government in contempt of court over deportation flights to El Salvador. His reason for the potential order and how the Justice Department is responding.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
Aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump reaffirmed his commitment to tariffs imposed this week, comparing the U.S. economy to somebody who just had surgery, survived the operation, and is now recovering. The president showing optimism despite the Dow Jones Industrial Average plunging more than 1,600 points yesterday as U.S. stocks were part of a global sell-off after he announced reciprocal tariffs against more than 180 countries and territories.
It was a sick patient that went through an operation on Liberation Day, and it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually, and we see it because we have trillions of dollars committed to come in, trillions.
On Wednesday, the president announced a 10% across-the-board tariff on imports, with the tax rate even higher on products from countries like China, Japan, and Vietnam, as well as members of the European Union. This morning, stock futures are again lower, despite President Trump remarking late yesterday that the markets are going to, quote, boom. Straight Arrow News business correspondent Simone Del Rosario breaks down the impact President Trump's Liberation Day is having on the markets. Go to SAN.com for more in-depth analysis. The Trump administration has fired the head of the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command, according to multiple sources. General Timothy Huff was dismissed, while his deputy director, Wendy Noble, reassigned. According to the Washington Post, Noble will take a different position in the Pentagon. It is not yet clear why Huff was fired, but it comes amid a lot of change in government structure so far in President Donald Trump's new term. U.S. Cyber Command Deputy Lieutenant General William Hartman has reportedly been named acting NSA director, and Sheila Thomas, who was the executive director at the NSA, is now acting deputy. A federal judge Thursday temporarily blocked the Trump administration's attempt to cut more than $11 billion in public health funding to states, as nearly 24 states and the District of Columbia sued in order to keep the money flowing. The states are taking legal action against the Department of Health and Human Services and Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., saying the money is needed for urgent public health needs, including the monitoring of diseases, vaccines, as well as mental health and addiction services. The Trump administration contends the end of the COVID-19 pandemic justifies cutting funding, which was first offered to state and local health departments during the public health emergency caused by the coronavirus. Thursday's hearing was held in front of Judge Mary McElroy, who was appointed by President Donald Trump during his first term. New York Attorney General Letitia James, who represents one of the states in the lawsuit, wrote on X she will continue to fight to ensure states can provide the medical services Americans need. She and Donald Trump have sparred over various lawsuits in the last few years. A federal judge says there's a fair likelihood the Trump administration violated his order to turn around a pair of planes carrying suspected Venezuelan gang members, and says he may hold the government in contempt of court over the matter. Judge James Boasberg, who blocked the administration's deportation flights of apparent Tren de Aragua gang members last month, said Thursday the administration possibly acted in bad faith by not returning the planes to the U.S. Instead, the flights proceeded to El Salvador, where more than 200 Venezuelan nationals are now in a maximum security prison. Boasberg issued a temporary order halting deportations under the Alien Enemies Act that the Trump administration was using to deport the suspected illegal immigrants. At Thursday's hearing, the Department of Justice attorney argued the government complied with Boasberg's order, but did not know who instructed the planes to continue to El Salvador. Across the world, South Korea's constitutional court has officially ousted embattled President Yoon Suk Yeol. The court's unanimous decision on Friday marks Yoon's formal dismissal from the presidency after Parliament voted to impeach him in December, when he briefly declared martial law. His removal takes effect immediately, meaning he must now leave the presidential residence. There will also be an election to replace him. Right now, South Korean Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is acting as president. In a separate criminal trial, police arrested Yoon in January on charges of leading an insurrection. However, he was released in March after a court canceled his arrest warrant, though the charges were not dropped. Finally this morning, it's Final Four weekend in the NCAA basketball tournament. There are just 4 teams left in the running on both sides. Straight Arrow News sports reporter Chris Francis has a look at the power schools looking to make history as the women's Final Four tips off tonight.
3 number-1 seeds, including the defending national champions, and a team that's won a record 11 national titles. That's the short rundown of the women's Final Four, which tips off Friday in Tampa, Florida. Here's a look at that women's Final Four bracket. The first matchup Friday features 2 number-1 seeds that have already met 3 times this season. SEC rivals Texas and South Carolina will get started at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The Gamecocks are the defending national champs and have won 2 of the last 3 titles. They also beat Texas 2 out of 3 times this year, including by 19 points in the SEC championship game just 3 weeks ago. It was all about defense in that one, as South Carolina held Texas to just 29% shooting and dominated the paint, outscoring the Longhorns 40-18 inside.
They do a really good job of making you go a little bit deeper into your offense, so you got to make sure that you know what we're doing, and it's not just, happenstance or chaotic. So it's more about that, but we're not going to stray too far left or right from the things that we've done that were positive, that would help us.
The nightcap Friday, tipping off about 30 minutes after the first game ends, features the number-1 overall seed UCLA against the 2 seed UConn. The Huskies are making a record 24th appearance in the Final Four. They will go as far as superstar Paige Bueckers can take them. If she can duplicate her last 3 tournament games, scoring 31, 40, and 34 points, UConn will be tough to beat. But the Bruins have lost just twice all season, and even though they're making their first Final Four appearance, they are well balanced with great options outside. They're going to lean, though, on Lauren Betts inside, who is not going to let the pressure get to her.
We kind of talked about it in film, just Coach Shannon brought it up, just enjoying the moment. Obviously, we talked a lot about, media and how there's going to be a lot of things going on and it'll be a little hectic, but just acknowledging that we're here at the Final Four and this is a huge deal and it's a huge accomplishment for this program.
And no one knows more about pressure than Bueckers, who's been to the Final Four 4 times in her 5-year career, but has yet to win a national title at a school that almost demands it.
Once you walk inside the practice facility, you see all the history, all the names, all the banners. It's just motivation, and obviously there's expectations here, and anything less than a national championship is really a disappointment. And as players, that's what you play for and what you want to live up to.
Will Bueckers grab that elusive title? They are the betting favorites at most sports books. Will South Carolina cement their dynasty with 3 titles in 4 years? Or will it be Texas or UCLA? 2 wins, and they can cut down the nets. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.
The men's Final Four is tomorrow with 4 number-1 seeds going head-to-head. Florida takes on Auburn while Houston faces Duke. Should be some great games this weekend, and I'll be in front of the TV for a lot of it. Those are your unbiased updates for this Friday. We'll see you back here next week. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.